The real reason houses cost what they cost. You walk into an open house and the asking price is $800,000 for a property that, structurally, costs maybe $200,000 to build. The real estate agent smiles. You feel stupid for noticing the gap. You're not. That gap is the entire economy, and almost nobody talks about what actually fills it. Most people think house prices are about supply and demand. Simple. Limited land, more buyers, prices go up. That's the story they teach you. But that story is missing the part that actually matters, the part that made you feel that gap in your gut when you saw that number. Here's what actually happens. In 1990, the median home price in America was around $120,000. Median household income was $30,000. So a house cost about 4 times what you earned in a year. Seemed normal then. Today, median home price is $430,000. Median income is $75,000. That's 5.7 times your annual income. But wages didn't move at the same speed. They stalled. Houses accelerated. That's not supply and demand. That's something else hunting your purchasing power. The first thing filling that gap is leverage. When you buy a house, you don't put down $430,000. You put down maybe 20%, $86,000, and borrow the rest. That borrowed money is cheap. Mortgage rates have been historically low for decades. A 3% mortgage is almost free money if inflation is 2%. You're paying back loans with currency that's worth less every year. So buyers competed upward because they could borrow. More buyers competing means prices climb. The bank doesn't care if prices are reasonable. The bank cares if you can service the debt. So prices climb as high as debt service allows. That's the first layer. But there's more. The second thing is zoning. Most American land where people want to live is zoned for single-family homes only. That means dense development is illegal. A builder can't build a fourplex where a law says only one house per lot can exist. So supply is artificially constrained by law, not by actual scarcity. That's remarkable. Governments literally made it illegal to build the thing that would relieve pressure on prices. Cities like San Francisco, New York, Boston, they've spent decades making it nearly impossible to build anything new. So old houses sit on land worth more than the structure itself. You're not paying for the building. You're paying for permission to be in that location, and the government has made permission scarce. When something is both desirable and artificially scarce, prices don't reflect cost. They reflect scarcity rent, the premium you pay just for access to the permission itself. Here's where it gets darker. Zoning doesn't affect rich neighborhoods and poor neighborhoods the same way. Rich neighborhoods zone heavily to restrict density. That keeps their neighborhoods exclusive and keeps property values concentrated in the hands of existing owners. Poor neighborhoods get upzoned, allowed to build more densely, which dilutes the ownership premium. So zoning is a wealth transfer mechanism. It protects existing owners in wealthy areas while opening poor areas to development pressure that extracts value from residents who can't outbid developers. The law that supposedly regulates housing is actually architecting inequality into land itself. But you already feel that in the market. What you don't see is the third layer, institutional capital. For the last 15 years, hedge funds, private equity, and REITs have been buying single-family homes, not to live in them, to rent them. BlackRock alone has been buying tens of thousands of properties. When a massive fund with access to institutional capital and zero emotional attachment to a house bids against you, a human with a job and a down payment, you lose. Every time. They can outbid you because they're not buying one home. They're assembling a portfolio. They use leverage at a cost you can't access. They model it as a yield-generating asset. They don't need the house to be affordable. They need it to cash flow. So institutional capital doesn't just compete for homes. It changes the entire pricing function. A home used to be a place you lived. Now, it's a financial asset that institutional buyers are treating as yield. That shifts the marginal buyer from a family to a fund. And funds will pay prices that families never will. So now you have leverage pushing prices up, zoning keeping supply scarce, and institutional capital as the marginal buyer, the one actually setting prices. These three forces feed each other. High prices require leverage. Leverage justifies high prices. Zoning keeps supply low. Scarcity keeps prices high. Institutions buying for yield push prices higher still. That gap you felt between what a house costs to build and what it costs to buy isn't a market failure. It's a system working exactly as designed. The system just isn't designed for your benefit. There's one more layer, and it's the one that changes how you should think about this. Real estate is the only asset class where ordinary people borrow 5-to-1 on leverage to buy. A stock investor with margin borrows maybe 2-to-1. Real estate buyers borrow 4-to-1, 5-to-1, sometimes more. That leverage is the entire game. And leverage means you're not buying an asset. You're buying a bet on whether asset prices will go up faster than your debt grows. If prices go up, you win. If prices stall, you lose. If prices fall, you're destroyed. The bank wins either way because they collect interest. You're just renting the difference between what prices do and what your debt does. The whole system is engineered so that if you're not leveraged, you can't compete. And if you are leveraged, you're betting against deflation with your life. But here's what nobody wants to admit. The system needs prices to keep going up. Not because they're worth more, because debt can only be serviced if prices go up. Once prices stall, the debt becomes visible. You see that you borrowed $350,000 for a structure worth $200,000. The gap becomes real. The system is always counted on the gap staying hidden inside rising prices. It's been true for 40 years. People bought homes, prices went up, they paid off debt. They felt like geniuses. But what if that streak breaks? What if prices don't go up? Then every buyer who leveraged 5-to-1 is suddenly holding a depreciating asset with fixed debt. That's the trap nobody talks about, because it's the trap the entire modern wealth structure depends on not existing. You think you're buying a house. You're actually making a leverage bet on perpetual price appreciation in a system where zoning keeps supply artificial, where institutional capital sets the floor, and where the math only works if prices never stop climbing. When you understand that, the $800,000 asking price isn't mystifying anymore. It's the price of a bet. And you're not betting against the seller or the bank. You're betting against a law of physics, that things can keep growing forever. The system needs you to believe that house prices only go up,